Like it always
Nice.
sucks. All right, so let me get to that.
Okay.
You guys still playing Overwatch?
No.
No?
I'm planning on playing it later tonight, like 10 o'clock though.
Okay.
Um, 10 o'clock Eastern, because I'm busy after this until 10 o'clock if I'm lucky. Maybe be closer to 11. Are we live on?
It
I
looks
mean,
like we
Restream
are.
says we're live. I don't know if we're live on Twitch. Are we live on Twitch, Assassin?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're live on YouTube. If I'm,
Does look like that.
let me see. Oh no, I don't see it on YouTube yet. It sucks because it always takes a minute, but it is live. Like when I go back and edit the video,
Yeah, it definitely is live.
it's live on YouTube.
Oh yeah. Here, let me play the audio and see how far behind it is.
I'm not seeing that.
Yep. Yeah, it definitely is. That's weird.
Hmm.
Well, I guess everyone gets to watch you eat for a second.
Hmm. This podcast is brought to you by these Necot cookies, whatever they are, from Lance. Oh, they're so good. All right, we're good. Let me run the intro video. I see us on YouTube now.
Welcome to the Four Guys with Quarters show. With your hosts Inferno, Assassin, and Clowns.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Four Guys with Quarters, episode 92 for June 17, 2016. I am back from E3, barely. I came in this morning, went to work, but I'm ready to get part one of our E3 reactions, impressions episode done and over with. We'll talk about the big three giants this week. We may do another part two sooner than next Thursday. So look out for that on Twitter. If you're not following us on Twitter, go to twitter.com/4GwQPodcast and make sure you're following to see when episode or part two of our E3 reactions, impressions video will be. But for today, we're only going to do Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo. I was there personally. These three guys were watching at home religiously. I have a message from... Oh, okay. That just may have gone on the stream. Anyway, let's introduce the panel making his 92nd straight appearance. ZBCI Assassin, what up?
Hola.
Oh, you sound really clear this week, too. Did you like fix your microphone? Or?
It might have fell on the floor a few times.
Oh, I think it's fixed. I think it's fixed. We've got joining us again this week, Bear Claw Gaming, also known as Zack Attack. What's up?
Hey guys, thanks for stopping in and hanging out this afternoon. That's great.
And we've got Italian Clowns, looking dapper today.
What's up?
And I'm Inferno 217, bringing you this lovely show, us four guys here. Taylor could not make it. I don't know if she can make it. I don't think so. She's working. So we had to get Bear Claw in, cover for her, give his expert opinions. He blogs.
Expert.
He blogs on his site, or not really blog, but he's got bearclawgaming.com. Go check it out.
I think we fooled everybody. You know, I think they weren't expecting Bear Claw and they thought Taylor was here.
Yeah.
Nice.
And they shut up and then they're like, oh, this fat guy is where we expect her. Yeah, well, that's all right. Just for today.
Dude, you're not fat. Are you serious?
No.
How much do you weigh?
Jesus.
Wow. Personal intervention, huh?
99 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah, around there.
Well, Assassin has something that's 99 pounds, but we won't get into that.
Fake gun.
Wow.
We're bringing it today. I'm tired. We're ready to get this going. Let's talk first about me being an E3. What up? Yeah, no, it was a crazy experience. The highlight of the experience for sure was me winning the Forza challenge beating out tons of people, like 500 people at Forza Horizon 3. Won a nice trophy. It was really nerve-wracking, though. How it worked is everybody raced, and they got a best lap time, and then they took the top 8, and everybody was, like, watching them race after that. And so I had people behind me, like, watching me race, and it was, like, really nerve-wracking. I was shaking a little bit, not gonna lie.
It's pretty cool though. Got a free trophy out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Got some skill. Yeah, no, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, the trophy is actually really diesel. I don't have it with me here because this is where I record the show, but I'm going to put a really, like, high-resolution picture up on my Twitter.
Well,
yeah,
Assassin was talking smack about it. He's like, oh, man, if I was there, I would have whipped Inferno's ass, man.
My
I would
ass.
have outraced him. I would have knocked him off the track. I would have showed him his boss. It's like, Assassin, calm down, man.
Assassin, you would have loved it, dude. You would have loved this Forza competition because it was best lap time. It wasn't head to head, so no one was knocking you off the track. You could just take it, you would just take your time around the corners, like taking the line properly. You don't have to worry about these nut jobs, knocking you off the line or anything. So it was good. It was good. What were you gonna say,
the
Assassin?
game, like in general?
Oh, the game is excellent. The game is excellent. It definitely looks better than last year. I love all the different atmospheres. I love racing on the beach. I didn't think I was going to like that. Didn't see any kangaroos to run over, though. So definitely want to know if that's actually possible.
Pre-order canceled.
Yep. A lot of people were wondering if you can run over the kangaroos. I don't think anyone asked or anyone got a straight answer, but we will find out soon enough. But yeah, I highly recommend it to everyone. It's excellent. If you're a fan of the Horizon series, definitely get it. It's probably the best Horizon game I've played in terms of atmosphere. In terms of gameplay, not too sure yet. I mean, if it's as good as Forza Horizon 2, then it's probably going to be the best ever. Just because the race that they brought us through went through so many different, atmospheres, like the jungle and onto the beach and then back onto dirt roads and stuff. Like, it was just so different. I highly recommend it. People that are joining in the Twitch chat and the YouTube chat, welcome. Thank you guys for dropping by. Definitely give us your impressions of E3, Xbox, Sony, and Nintendo for today. And our next E3 episode will be coming soon. Look out for that on Twitter for a more updated time. So yeah, I won a trophy, but it's not all about me. It's about the games, right? About the games. So let's talk about Xbox first, since we're all primarily Xbox gamers.
Sure.
Assassin's already got the mic like to his face.
He
grabbed that mic.
I
heard that noise. He like made that little pulling motion on his microphone. Tell us, Assassin. I guess generally, like your takeaways from the conference that you were able to watch at home, or like any of the Twitch streams you were able to see of interviews or anything like that.
Well, from just watching the conference without seeing anything else, I was disappointed. Just because Phil Spencer and everyone was like, we have, high hopes for this. We're gonna, this is gonna be the best E3 since like the 360 launch. It's gonna be so epic, and a lot of it was just leaked.
Yeah, see, that's the problem. Personally, I'm going on Twitter, and truth be told, I did not watch the Sony conference when it aired, so I can't, I wasn't at the Sony conference. I was at the Xbox conference and was able to like feel out the reactions to it, and people were going nuts. Like, not just the people that got in for free through the Xbox Fan Fest like myself, but people, even the press, the Engadget people, the Kotaku people, these people were going nuts in the crowd. The people that weren't just on the floor, people were excited about this conference. But if you look around, people say Sony won.
That's a joke.
A lot of people.
That's a big fucking joke.
Yeah, I mean,
I might disagree in certain aspects. First of all, I do think it's generally a little lame to feel like one beat the other just because they're kind of different. I think that Sony won in the basis of like showing you as many cool games as possible in an hour or hour and a half. I think they beat in that regard. But I think that Microsoft kind of set more realistic boundaries for their conference, right? Everything that we saw, excluding the Scorpio at the end, which is basically just a teaser trailer, we can expect to probably play before next E3. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a couple delays in there, but everything felt very realistic. Whereas Sony, a lot of those games had the floating question mark of when they're going to release afterward, right? Yeah, I don't know. I thought they were both strong.
That's the thing though, Bear Claw. Like the feeling at the conference was, and if you're on the floor, you go to the pressers like day zero, right? So the floor doesn't open until the next day. So everyone's getting the hype for the stuff that's being shown at these conferences, and then they go to the conference, and you go to Xbox's booth, and so much stuff from their conference was playable. Like you could just walk up. Right. I mean, granted there were long lines. I'm not gonna lie to you about that. Even longer than PAX. That's the one big negative about this thing. But I mean, we're showing pictures right now of how long the lines are, or were rather. But I mean, Dead Rising 4 was there and playable, and Recore was playable, and Scalebound was not playable, but granted that it was delayed and far behind development. Gears 4 not playable, but you sat in a room in a private showing of a campaign mission and watch for 30 minutes of developers play it and do the coolest shit that they already know what to do. You know what I mean? So you saw the best of the best playing the game on,
Now, were they playing it on Xbox One or were they on Windows 10?
Both, actually. Both.
Oh, okay.
In the same room. One was on a projector playing in 4K on a PC, and the other person was on the Xbox One S up-res to 4K in what do you call it? HDR mode.
I see.
So they were both next to each other. You got the audio feeds of both coming through the surround sound, and they let like 20 or so people in to watch these people co-op it, and it was epic. Like you're seeing this stuff in action, whereas in Sony's thing, like half of the stuff, if not more, that they showed wasn't even viewable, let alone playable.
Right. And I'm trying to think through it of the stuff that they showed that was actually playable, or that they even played as live demos at E3, and they did God of War, obviously. Now, have all of you guys at least seen the conference at this point, or seen enough of it?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So like besides, so I guess Days Gone, which I can say is easily the worst demo I can remember seeing. It was a very boring looking experience, but God of War looked great. And then I think they did Days Gone, but did they show any other live demos? I think maybe Detroit was a live demo. I think.
I don't know if Detroit was. I don't think it was.
No, it wasn't more like, well, they kept showing like the button prompts, but maybe that was just like kind of to show you the concepts. I couldn't really tell.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that that's the thing, right? Like Sony showed and said, like they made a lot of great announcements, but it's just, Can we see these deliveries in 2016 or 2017? I'm not sure, and I think that's, I don't know.
And that's the thing: are people more excited about seeing brand new IPs that are nowhere close to happening, or are you excited to see more about stuff that was actually playable, that now everyone's getting like informed opinions about? Because we could talk all day about how awesome Last Guardian is, but no one has friggin' played it, so. You can't judge a book by its cover necessarily.
Now, was that playable on the floor? I heard press got to play it.
That was not playable on the floor, no. They had this huge interactive wall. It must have been like, I shit you not, like 25 feet tall of an interactive screen that you could like touch the beast or whatever you want to call it, the dog, cat, whatever the hell it is. And that's all it was. It wasn't playable on the floor.
I gotta say some of this Last Guardian crap. It looks like it doesn't even belong in the same game. You got this cartoonish looking kid that looks like he's from the Avatar Nickelodeon, and then like this big monstrous looking graphically enhanced thing. And here comes the little Avatar, sweet on his ass, like a cartoon, walking around with this big thing. Mm-hmm. It doesn't belong together. I'm not saying it's a bad game, but it's like, hey, we designed a really great game, but we rushed the protagonist, so we're just going to make him a cartoon.
Well, so my chief complaint with The Last Guardian, and I'm certainly looking forward to it, I think that when a game has been, and I don't think they should be proud of this, but when a game has been in development for 10 years, it's hard to not get hyped for it, right? So I'm looking forward to it this year, but I will say that the 10 years of development shows in that it's not a bad-looking game, but it does look like a PS3 game, right? when you look at the graphics of all the other PS3 or PS4 games shown at E3, and then you look at The Last Guardian, there's a clear line between what is considered a next gen graphic game, and then you look at Last Guardian, and it's like, yeah, it looks like a remaster.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, I think you're absolutely correct on that, and I think a lot of these games that looked great in the conference for PS4 actually did not show very well on the actual expo floor. Like, for instance, Horizon Zero Dawn, right? Everyone's excited for that. I mean, that's been delayed now until what, February?
Yeah,
2017.
Yep.
So I mean, it is a far way away. So you can't necessarily think that these graphics are final, product necessarily. But at the same time, like, they had a pretty big booth for Horizon, and it was pretty in demand on the floor. And then you go to play the demo because that was playable. And it doesn't look good. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not an Xbot by any means. Like, I do like PlayStation as well. And I have a PlayStation 4, and I'm looking forward to the exclusives, like you just said, Bear Claw, about Last Guardian. But Horizon did not show well, I don't think. I don't think it showed well graphically. So, yeah, I think you're right in that some of these games, do look like they've been in long development cycles. Last Guardian, way more so than Horizon, but I mean, I'm with you on that for sure.
Can we talk about? I guess Nintendo's hard to talk about because they didn't show very much. But between Sony and Microsoft, can we talk about what we think was the weakest point in each show?
All right, so Microsoft first. What do you guys think was the weakest?
Minecraft for 10 minutes.
What?
See, Minecraft actually showed well to the crowd. To be honest,
I've never played Minecraft, and so when I watch it, and like they have these canned dialogue moments, I'm like, ugh.
Yes, no, but
oh, go ahead.
Well,
I gotta tell you something. As soon as that Minecraft thing was announced, because my daughter was watching with me, she signed on to her iPod Touch.
Oh no, yeah,
signed into Minecraft, and all 50 of her school friends signed on and did realms.
Right,
it's huge.
I totally think it has I think it totally has an audience. It's just I guess just me personally when I watched it, and you have the guy. Didn't they have the VR guy? Wasn't he one of the co-creators of the original Doom? And he's up there doing this awkward plug for VR Minecraft, and I was like, oh
yeah. See,
no, I totally think Minecraft totally resonates with a lot of really young gamers, and yeah, for sure. But it's kind of like when Sony had Disney Infinity on their stage last year, and I'm like, I'm sure this has a crowd, but I'm sure it's not the same as the E3 crowd.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Assassin, what do you think was the weakest part?
Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy.
Absolutely. Who the fuck wants that?
Also, I couldn't tell if it was on purpose, but it did seem like the guy was having a hard time with the demo.
Yeah, he sucked.
It was bad.
I'm not going to name names, but I know some people, obviously, that are kind of on the inside, and truth be told, that guy was not playing. That was pre-recorded. So any speculation on that guy just sucking big time live in the moment is incorrect. That guy was not playing it live. I'm pretty sure.
I wonder
two
if
separate sources.
That was part of Microsoft's thing.
See, now,
I wonder if that's a Microsoft demand.
Why? Why do you say that? Hello?
I can still hear you. Bear Claw, can you hear us?
What do you, Mike is...
Yeah, I can hear you. Am I cutting out?
No. I'm asking you, why do you think that's a Microsoft thing?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, my Wi-Fi cut out there for a minute.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, so my thing is not that the pre-recorded thing. My thing is Microsoft pushed a lot of live demos. So my point was, I wonder if Final Fantasy guys were like, oh, we better just awkwardly bring this guy on here with us to try to, you know what I mean? It's kind of like he's like, oh, this is going to be live. I don't know. I mean, I'm probably talking out my ass. They probably have this stuff planned for months in advance. But yeah, that's weird that he would, why even bother at that point? That's weird.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, I mean, that's like a little bit of a trade secret that a lot of people have kind of suspected, is that when these people go on for live demos of some things, like, it's not actually them. Like, if you go back and watch the Microsoft conference, now I don't know because I was watching it live, obviously, and I could see everything that was going on stage. But there was a moment where the guy that was playing in quote-unquote Minecraft VR was moving his head in a way that was not emulated on the screen. Like, so he was definitely not playing it, in my opinion.
Interesting.
So, like, I don't know if they cut away from that on the stream or, like, you know, they went to the full screening of the game or whatnot. But when I was sitting there watching it, I could tell in that one for sure. Now, the Final Fantasy thing, like people are saying in the chat, like, everyone's saying pretty much Final Fantasy demo was the worst thing. But, like, that one, the guy was it was so terrible the way he was playing that you almost thought it was real. Like, everyone just kind of expected it to be real.
Right,
if it was pre-recorded, why would it be so shitty, you know?
Right. Yeah, he kept, like, getting knocked over and shit. Yeah, no, now that you say that, that was probably weaker. Like, at least the Minecraft thing, despite the cringy canned dialogue, at least it mostly went as planned. Yeah, you're right. That was weird. That was weird, the Final Fantasy thing. Well, and Final Fantasy was at Sony, too, and I thought that was weak also, with their VR thing.
Yeah, the VR... I mean, now that you say that, I'm, like, bouncing back and forth between the PS4 slideshow and the Xbox One, but it's all good. The Final Fantasy VR was not well accepted, not well reviewed amongst the people at the booth. I mean, I talked to at least 10 people that played the Final Fantasy VR, and they were very disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe Final Fantasy is just kind of passé as a franchise, and I think that probably bums a lot of people out because I think that it's something that probably resonates with a lot of gamers, but...
Right.
I just mean, if you have two bad showings in one E3, that's not you. And that game comes out in September, right?
Yeah, September, I believe. Yeah.
So yeah, they don't got a long time to go. So we'll see how that turns out.
That was one of the rare games that, like, I thought showed terribly in the conference. I'm like, no one gives a shit about this. And then you get to the floor, and there are people packing the demo for it. And when they showed it on, I don't know if there were 4K TVs, like, I'm not sure, and the demos were only on, like, Xbox Ones. It wasn't Xbox One S for Final Fantasy. Like, the game looked damn good. Graphically, the game looked really good. Now, the frame rate's not so much, but the graphics were really, really good.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Final Fantasy's always had, like, pretty good graphics on you know, 3D consoles, not necessarily, like, NES and SNES, but on 3D consoles, they've always had great graphics, so I'm not, like, too surprised that it looks awesome, but... What else? How about the low light for the PlayStation one? We all said the low light for the Xbox One. What about the low light for the PlayStation?
Days Gone demo wasn't very good. It was kind of boring, which bummed me out because, like, the premise seemed kind of cool. But I also think the VR portion of Final Fantasy was pretty bad, right? Where the guy's, like, wearing it and, like, sitting in place shooting a monster. It's pretty cheesy.
Now, that's the problem with PSVR compared to, like, Vive and some Oculus uses. Like, it is stationary. You know what I mean?
Is it?
It's a very stationary experience. Now, the hardware allows for movement, but with the Vive, you know, you get these cameras and stuff that you set up kind of like in a box around you. You know, you got a couple cameras in front or whatever.
Right.
And it sets like that arena that you stay in, that like 8x8 square that you set it up in, and then your movement around in that square is replicated in the game. So you get more of an immersion from that rather than the shit that's on PSVR, or most of it, where you're just like sitting on your couch playing with a controller and just like looking around. You know what I mean? Like Res Infinite. I talked about this when we were talking about PAX. That game, you're literally just sitting on the couch and you're playing the same damn game. It's just that you can move your head around and look left and right when you don't need to, kind of deal. So,
right.
Assassin of Clowns, the low light of the PlayStation conference. I know Assassin has a lot to say about this one.
I think the VR game, that VR horror game, I think it just looked like crap.
Resident Evil?
Yeah, if that's what it was. I didn't even pay attention. I just saw junk on the screen. I was like, oh, this is crap. And I muted the stream.
So I don't want to. Again, I haven't played it, and look, things are going to change by launch, I'm sure. But I was reading an article today from Engadget, and they were saying that their reporters who actually spend a lot of time in Vive and in Oculus Rift said they got sick playing the PS whatever the PSVR
Mm-hmm.
version of Resident Evil because they said that it struggled to hit that 60 frames per second,
Mm-hmm.
and because it struggled to hit 60 frames per second, it just makes you nauseous.
Yep.
And one of the things they talked about was on the Vive and on Oculus Rift, the creators say don't make games below 90 frames per second, and Sony's requirement is don't make games below 60. And so they're saying with that kind of fluctuation, that can make you sick. And so yeah, I've heard that the graphics aren't great on Resident Evil, and two, that it made people sick in the VR form. So
right. You're right.
yeah,
That's,
I don't know.
Yep, that's from a lot of people that played it. That's what I heard, that they were getting kind of sick. And not only is it because of that 60 frames per second thing that you were just talking about, because, you know, the refresh rate is nowhere close to, if it's below 60 FPS, the refresh rate is not close to real life. So there's that aspect. And also in the Resident Evil demo, there was a lot of movement that you did without moving your head. Like you could use the right joystick to move your view. So you get disoriented because, like, some people are naturally going for the right joystick to move their view, but they're looking the other way. So they go to look right, for instance. And if they move the joystick just by, you know, naturally for some reason or another to the left, the view moves, like, to the left.
Yeah.
So, like, you're getting disoriented. It's like you're spinning around in a chair and looking the other way.
Well, you do have to wonder, right? Because it's going to be a multi-plat release. But now, correct me if I'm wrong. Now, I know it's on PlayStation. Is the VR portion coming to PC as well?
Yes, there are PC games that are going to be able to use it, yeah.
Okay, well, no, I just wondered if Resident Evil, like, tacked on VR for PlayStation, or if it was every platform but Xbox was going to have the experience. Okay.
See, now, you know, Capcom, you know, is a little buddy-buddy with PlayStation. You wouldn't believe it after hearing that Dead Rising 4 was exclusive, at least timed
only for
exclusive.
a year, yeah.
Timed exclusive. Sure. But, you know, Capcom's went exclusive for Street Fighter, which is arguably a way better series, or way bigger series, rather, not better, bigger series
probably
than
about
Dead
how
Rising.
much money, right?
Yeah, so maybe Sony, you know, they have the VR thing, they can add that onto the experience. You know, if people have both the PS4 and an Xbox One, they may go with the PS4 version just because they can get that VR experience. So
right.
You know, but I'm still going to say this. PSVR is going to fail. In the long run, it's going to fail.
We'll see, man. I mean, like, look, I think that betting on PC is probably the way to go. But I think when you have 40 million PlayStation units already installed, we'll see. We'll see.
Here's the thing, though, Bear Claw. Sony stocks are plummeting. They're at $28 a share. So if the PSVR doesn't take off, I'm predicting they're going to go down to $10 a share. And that's not counting all those lawsuits for people getting sick from PSVR because of wrong warning labels. And that will probably bankrupt Sony at that point. That's what I'm predicting.
We'll see.
If I'm telling you, if there aren't more, how do I say this? If there aren't more compelling titles on it within the first year, it's screwed. Because
that's everything. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But people, like, when a new console generation comes out, like, for instance, a lot of us are old gamers here, so we know when the N64 came out, there were like 3 launch titles, or like 2. There was like Pilot Wings and Mario 64 and maybe Mortal Kombat Trilogy. I can't remember if that was a launch title, but like there were 2 launch titles. But people were okay with that because it was a new generation. They were like, "Oh, I have the new best thing," right? Whereas with this VR thing, like, there's so many avenues for VR.
Yeah.
That, like, if you get a PSVR and there aren't compelling titles in the first year, you're looking at the people over that are playing Oculus and Vive, and you're saying, oh shit, like, they have compelling titles on Vive and Oculus, and I'm missing out because I decided to cheap out and go with the $400 version.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, and that's one of the things is so the people who are making Final Fantasy said that they will add in DLC for VR to the Xbox One version of the game after the Xbox brand becomes VR capable.
Yes.
So what I'm hoping for is that I hope that Xbox doesn't just. I mean, in the past they've sided with Oculus Rift. I hope that they don't maintain that relationship. I mean, it's fine to keep it, but I mean, I hope that they give gamers the option between the Vive and the Oculus Rift. Just purely on the basis of there's going to be a lot of exclusives for both.
Yep.
I don't know, and I think although Xbox is going to be late to the game, I think that by waiting a year, they can basically wait to put their money on whatever horse is in the lead at that point.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to imagine that the HTC Vive probably won't get Xbox support purely because you need a whole room to play it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is compatibility with games that support Oculus as well. So I mean, you don't necessarily need to have that experience. It just makes it that much better to have that. I mean, it allows that. It's kind of like it's almost like backwards compatibility almost if you play it like the traditional sense like Oculus without the big room and the whole setup and all that deal. So it does have like that quote unquote backwards compatibility, but it's much better if you're in the room with the handheld remotes and stuff. Let me go to the chat here before we get to Assassin's rant on PlayStation. YouTube chat, the Pullet says if they can do Fallout and Doom in VR, then I might get DR. Well, they had Fallout in VR rather. At E3, I did have a few friends that waited in line for it. They waited quite a long time. Some people waited as long as 3.5 hours to play Fallout in VR. And
see, I don't think that'll come to PlayStation though. I don't think the PlayStation is powerful enough.
No, yeah, you're exactly right. I think that's a Vive and Oculus experience only. But I mean, everyone that checked it out said it was cool, and like, that's the thing. Like, I'm sure Assassin will get into the Batman Arkham VR thing in a second when he goes on his rant. But like, there are big games that are supporting VR, like we've just been talking about, like with the Final Fantasies, with the Resident Evil 7, with the Batman Arkham VR. There are big games that are supporting some sort of VR feature. But on PlayStation, those big games that feature VR, even if you read other people, it's not just us people who prefer Xbox, you know. If you read neutral parties online, like, people are saying it's not, like, the use of it is not compelling in those big games. It's not, you know, it's not an experience that you feel like you have to have. Whereas the Fallout thing, people were saying, you know, you had to have this experience. It was cool. Or the Doom, it was cool. So, you know, that's the advantage that the PC games are getting over the PSVR stuff. They're getting compelling options. And so everyone was talking about, the talk of the show was the, you know, Fallout 4 in VR. Not necessarily like Batman Arkham VR, which people think would be so cool, but ended up being shitty.
Or do you know people who tried to play it?
Yes, I know. I talked to 5 people who played it. They said it was not good. They said it was like a tech demo. And the developers, Rocksteady, right, Assassin?
Yep.
Even admitted that it's only like an hour of gameplay and maybe an hour of replayability gameplay total.
Oof.
Yeah. So,
yeah, but I mean, like, that's what a lot of the Sony stuff looked like for PSVR, right? Like, so at first we heard they're gonna do Star Wars Battlefront VR, and that's a very tantalizing thing because Battlefront's a gorgeous game. That'll be great. And then we find out it's just a mission, and if we look at the missions in Battlefront now, they're 10 to 15 minutes. So it's like, guys, like, I mean, it would have been cool, but yeah, that's what I'm thinking is like every game that I've seen for VR so far, besides I think the mech game, looks like it's gonna be an hour to 2 hour experience, which is just, to me, not worth the investment yet.
Right. Exactly right. So Assassin, please take the floor. I know you've been waiting for this moment. Tell us all the things that you found were not appealing for the PlayStation that is eventually, I'm hearing through the grapevine that you may get rid of your PlayStation 4 now.
Yep, that is absolutely 1000% true. I watched this Sony conference. I'm like, okay, you know, they're gonna show us some games. You know, we might not play them this year. We'll play them next year, and then that, you know, whatever. You know, I go in, and I'm not gonna lie, God of War looks really good. Like,
superb.
Yep.
Superb.
Like, that's the only game in my eyes that looks any way, shape, or form good. So, where should I start?
I'm with you on that, by the way. If I can just quickly interject, from the stuff that I saw at E3 and when I saw the God of War demo,
It looks so good.
it looks great. It looks great. Go ahead, Assassin. Sorry.
Okay, so they showed off some more, games. That Detective Android crap game doesn't look good in my eyes. I'm not a big fan of the other games that they did, except Heavy Rain, which was totally ruined for me, by the way. So I will never buy it. That zombie game. I mean,
Days Gone.
Days
yeah,
Gone, yeah.
kind of looks a little like Last of Us. I mean, doesn't look any like wonderful so far. I mean, the game's still in development. They clearly told us that at the end.
Do you think it looks like State of Decay or no? Because we got some comments in the chat saying it was like a more mature State of Decay.
I think they're trying to take The Last of Us and make it not as awesome.
Yep.
Wow.
And again, this isn't a bump against the developer, but previously these people did they make Vita games? I want to say Sony Bend. I think.
Yep.
So
yep.
and typically and again, not a slight against them, but typically your first debut into the AAA realm isn't incredible. But yeah, my only criticism of Days Gone is the trailer looked fine, but like they just picked a demo where he's running, and like the amount of zombies on screen is certainly impressive, but all he did for 3 minutes was run, turn around, and shoot, and keep going, and that's not impressive to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. There's this total absolute BS rumor that they just threw Days Gone in because they pulled Red Dead because supposedly there was a scene in the Red Dead trailer.
I've heard that.
It's BS. It's not true. But that's a good excuse for showing a lame trailer. Yeah, no, that looked bad. Looks so bad.
Right.
I don't know. Sorry.
Really quick in the YouTube chat. No. I mean, this is what we're talking about, man. You had the floor. I mean, I think your analysis is absolutely correct. In the YouTube chat, the J1976, also known as J Street, one of our main followers. Thank you for coming back and checking out the show, man. We really appreciate you. He says, y'all do know most games shown at E3 never come out the same year. That's what E3 is, showing future projects mostly. I'm not too against, just me personally. I know Assassin, is upset that, none of this stuff is coming out seemingly anytime soon. But, for me personally, I'm all for showing future projects. Now, the part that I get disappointed about is if your whole conference is showing future projects. So, like, what PlayStation did. Because I was at E3 and hardly any of it was playable. So, not even in like an alpha stage. So, it's so future down the road that you're not getting anything. Maybe next E3 they're gonna show it again and it'll still be a year away from the sound of some of this stuff. But also, like, what I was just saying about not having the stuff playable on the floor, like, you show all this stuff, you get people hyped about it, and then they go to the conference, and they're not playing any of it. They're playing, if you're Sony, it was dominated. Sony's booth was dominated by indies and by PSVR. And I know PSVR shows well. Everyone's into VR. It is cool. I'm not gonna say VR is not cool, because I did enjoy my Vive and my Oculus experiences. 100%, if I had the money, I would have a Vive. But number one, you can't experience everything they showed in the press in the conference, and number two, it seems like Sony's like putting too many of their eggs in one basket, and they're ruining it. Like they're putting too much emphasis on the PSVR thing. I know it's a huge advantage, quote unquote, because of the fact that it has it and Xbox doesn't. But at the same time, like, you're alienating half of your player base, because half of the people inherently are not going to be interested in VR or getting it because it's $400 and they don't care about it.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing I got to say about the Sony conference that I didn't like, and I agree with Assassin wholeheartedly because he brought this up in Party Chat. The fact that Sony showed decently looking graphic games like God of War, there is no release date. So by the time these games come out, it could be like 2, 3, 4 years down the road. And that's not to say if they don't get canceled, pushed further back. It's just stupid, ridiculous, and retarded. So why do I have a $400 console sitting on my TV stand with no exclusives coming out for the next year, at least the next year and a half. Assassin's completely correct because that's exactly what he said.
Mm-hmm.
It's a paperweight. What are you going to play? Last of Us over and over and over remastered? Because you obviously nobody likes Order of 1886.
Yeah.
Interesting. Go
One
ahead.
more thing, just really quick, touching on this idea of games that they show at E3 don't come out the year, and that definitely varies a lot from developer to developer or publisher to publisher. Traditionally, Microsoft does like to do. This year was a little different, admittedly, because a lot of their games got pushed back, but they do typically like to do. Xbox does E3 is the year of, and then they use Gamescom for what's coming next year and the year afterward. And then somebody also said, well, think about Gears of War. They showed Gears of War last year, and it's not coming out until this fall. But I also would like to address the reason they showed Gears of War at E3 and not at Gamescom is because they're not technically allowed to show Gears of War at
internationally.
Yeah, it's at Gamescom in Germany, and in Germany you can't sell Gears of War, so that's why they can't show it there. They had to show it early because it's just some of the content of the game. And you are right. Like Microsoft this year has definitely changed it up. Scalebound is still floating around, looking like a very average-looking game. Sea of Thieves looks great, but again, that's sometime in the spring of next year, maybe. But yeah, I think that with Microsoft, they at least try to give you an idea of a release date. But like a lot of Sony show to me felt like here are these gorgeous games that look fun, but when you'll play them, we don't know and you don't know, and that's what I found to be frustrating about.
It's
their
like,
show.
Look at this, you can't touch it. Look here, look at this. Oh,
well,
can't touch
and
it.
the fact that it's not playable on stage is obviously, or not on stage, but the fact that it's not playable to folks on the show floor is also a sign that it's probably not near completion. You know what I mean?
Like, for instance, to touch on that point for both of you, clowns, that was a great analogy. Like, look, you can't touch. It's almost like the nudie magazines. Like it's like this. Horizon Zero Dawn, it comes out in February 28th, I think, 2017, and that was playable in alpha on the floor. So inherently, if you use that logic, none of those other games are coming anywhere close to February of 2017. We're gonna have to wait even longer for those other games, just if you use the logic that was available in alpha. And Horizon Zero Dawn doesn't have a huge team working on it. Some of these games, like God of War, that has a huge team working on it.
Yeah.
So that should have been, in my opinion, absolutely playable in some sort of regard.
Yeah.
And
I feel like we put the pause on Assassin. We better let him keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. Assassin, please.
All right, I just wanted to put this out there. Horizon Zero Dawn's gonna be terrible.
You think?
Any game that I've played that they made looks good, but is awful.
Yeah, I when I first got my PS4 a couple of years back, I considered picking up Shadowfall. I think that's what the last Killzone was called, and apparently it was pretty bad. I thought
awful.
The originals weren't the original Killzone supposed to be okay. I thought maybe.
I thought the first Killzone was good.
I don't know.
I didn't play the one on PS4, but I heard that it was very recently on sale for like $6.
Yeah, it was $5.
$5, yeah.
I was on the PlayStation subreddit, and people were like, "Yeah, even for $5, don't buy it."
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So. I asked a guy that I know that is very, very Sony fanboyish, and he even told me for $5, don't touch that thing with the 10-foot pole. So Assassin, I'm sorry. Go ahead, please continue. Horizon Zero Dawn, yes. Just to touch on that, just really, really quick, because I did play it and I watched the demo of it by the developers. It was a 9 before this E3, and now it's a 7.5.
How did it play besides the gameplay? All right, I'm sorry, it's graphics. Obviously, gameplay I want.
Let me tell you what the demo was. Well, at E3 compared to PAX, at PAX, you go and you get a 5 to 10 minute demo for most of the games. If they're smaller titles, you can walk up and play all day if you want, because they're small indies at PAX. But these are all big name hits. So the demos were 15, 20 minutes. Like Halo Wars, I played for 17 minutes.
Okay.
Battlefield 1 was 15 to 20 minutes. They were long. That played amazing.
On PC, I assume?
On PC, yeah, it was on PC. So Horizon Zero Dawn. This was the demo. You guys are gonna laugh at this. You had 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes to play this demo, and you literally had like a 100-meter circumference circle in the game that you could run around in and kill the bots. No objective, just like killing bots and taking them over and riding on their backs. If you ran out of that circle and you were out of it for 5 seconds, it reset the demo.
Huh. So that says they don't have polish around every area of their game.
Right.
And that honestly, again, like I really want to like that game because like the concept, it seems sublime.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, like when we look at not, I'm a fanboy for Gears of War, but when we look at Gears of War from last year, Rod Ferguson said what they played at E3 2015 had nothing to do, like it's not even in the game, like they just made up a segment. So I almost wonder if some of the stuff they showed for Horizon Zero Dawn was just like at E3 either this year or last year. Is just something that they play at shows, but isn't actually part of the game. Just like your thing of you could only go 100 feet before resetting indicates that the whole game isn't stable.
Yeah, not even close to stable. And the amount of the robots, they admit that there's going to be more variations on it, but to only see 2 in the playable demo, like a small, I don't know the name, so don't quote me on it. The small little like raptor-looking ones and the bigger-looking. I don't know. They look like kind of like a bull.
Yeah.
The bull. Those are the ones you ride that they rode in the demo, and the smaller ones take like 2 hits and they're dead. So I mean, they only had that small variation was kind of upsetting to me in the demo, and I was so stoked to play it. And the demo was very basic, albeit interesting, and I'm still interested in it, but not pre-order.
Was No Man's Sky there at all?
Nope, not there at all. So
Interesting.
Yeah. Assassin, please continue.
Okay, I'm gonna go hit Insomniac Spider-Man. Okay.
Oh.
I've played a lot of Spider-Man games. They weren't good, like whatsoever. So what is Insomniac gonna make it any special, like whatsoever? I don't care if it's Insomniac or 343 made it. It doesn't matter. It's gonna suck.
I thought Spider-Man 2. I played it, I think, on the GameCube when it came out. I thought Spider-Man 2 was good. But I think like what I will say about Insomniac is that Insomniac's humor is tonally very similar to what you would expect in a lot of like Peter Parker stories, right? Like the humor is spot on. It's just, can they deliver on web slinging shit? I don't.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't expect much from it. I mean,
did that have a 2017 date, or is it just again one of those
in development?
Quote unquote in development for PS4.
Right.
So.
Well, and they have a game coming out, I think, early July, right? That Sea of the Deep. Yeah. And they just launched a VR game, so it'll probably be a little while.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And people in the chat, in the YouTube chat, Weckless is saying Sunset Spider-Man. You can't help but make that comparison.
I think he means that in a bashing sort of way, but like sounds good to me. Like that sounds fine. Like that seems cool. But again, yeah, you're right. I mean, like there's just because every other Spider-Man game has been kind of terrible, I think we have a right to be kind of speculative of the final product.
Right. And like if it plays, I mean, you can't help but think that web slinging is similar to how they move in Sunset Overdrive. So, I mean, if it plays like that, I could potentially be interested. But none of the prior Spider-Man games have played like that, and so they're gonna have to take a brand new, absolutely fresh take on it, which, I mean, hasn't been done in the Spider-Man franchise for a while. So.
Yep. But I mean, before the Arkham series, there really weren't good superhero games. So, like, I guess all it takes is one good game to change it,
Yeah. Yep.
Now, I want to say, as disappointed as I am with the Sony showcase this year.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I have a $400 paperweight sitting there that I literally can't use with any exclusives. I am looking forward to the Spider-Man game, and I want it to come out, like, now. Like, yep. I don't want to be, like, 3 years from now or 4 years from now after the Neo drops and they got, like, PS5 and streaming all this crap. No, I want it soon. Give me a damn date. Insomniac makes great games, so I got a lot of love for the Spider-Man game, but Sony needs to get on the asses of these companies and push these games out.
Yep.
It's just horrible for Sony fans in
Well,
general.
I was gonna say, well, we're all very skeptical of Spider-Man, but don't worry, Sony will give us 3 E3s to decide if we like it before they
Oh,
launch it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, watch
So-
him. Yeah, like this year, it's like watch him shoot his web and like kick a guy out of a car. Next year, it's like watch him put on his costume, and the
Yeah.
year after that, it's like meet his girlfriend, and that's it.
Nice. Yeah, the J1976 in the chat says hopefully Spider-Man's good.
I mean, yeah, hopefully
I mean,
every game is good.
we hope it is. We hope it is too, man. We're really hoping for it, but I mean, I'm looking for any kind of exclusive on my PS4, bro, and that's why maybe I was so high in Horizon from the get-go. But now that I played it, I'm kind of
This this is gonna sound like I'm trying to be critical, and I'm absolutely not. What PS4 exclusives are coming out before the end of the year?
The chicken cat hybrid
Yep.
cartoon.
Oh yeah,
human.
right. Last Guardian.
Last
right.
Guardian,
That it?
That's it on GT Sport.
GT Sport, which I also played.
Look, and like I more than most, I'm somebody who will say, I like my Sony products. I won't play Gran Turismo after playing Forza. I just can't.
It was and the thing is that they try for GT Sport, I played it, and they tried to go big by bringing in like the cars to sit in, and they had the full setups with steering wheels and the pedals and all that shit and shifters and whatnot, and you went head to head against 11 other people, so it was 12 people on the track and stuff, but the track was so basic. Like, I felt no sense of where I was at all. I felt like I was just on some random track in some random area.
How are the visuals?
And I felt no connection to the cars at all. The visuals were good. I mean, no better than Forza Motorsport 6.
No better. Okay.
No better. Hard to say if they're worse because the environments were so damn bland. Right now,
Right.
I would say they are worse, but
It's a tech demo, so it's hard.
yeah, it really is hard to tell. But I mean, I didn't look at it and say, "Wow, these are shitty graphics." But also, I didn't look at it and say, "Holy shit, like Forza's in trouble."
Yeah.
Another problem that Sony had was like that orchestra they put on, like that symphony. I mean,
I thought
they
it was
could've-
cool.
Oh, they probably put people to sleep. They probably could have used some of that money to get these games out faster.
Nice. Yeah, see, that's a criticism. A lot of people are criticizing it and people are loving it as well. People are saying, "Oh, cuz they had this orchestra, it was way more entertaining. The Xbox one was kind of like droning on."
My chief criticism with Microsoft, and this isn't a slight against developers, because developers are what make great games for us, obviously. I mean, but my thing is that Microsoft, unlike Sony, keeps doing this thing where they're like, hey, let's have some awkward developers come up here and like have some canned dialogue, and like that's always awkward. Like, again, like you said earlier, Minecraft has an audience, but I don't want to watch Minecraft developers talk on stage awkwardly for 5 minutes. I'd rather have someone who's articulate, who has a degree in public relations or communications, deliver their message to me in a way that's engaging. And that's the thing with Sony is Sony didn't try to shove people, besides Kojima and Sony executives, they didn't really try to like shove people in your face to talk to you, and that's kind of what derailed Microsoft in some of the ways. They lost momentum when they'd have like awkward developers.
Yep.
See, I have to disagree though. Like, I think Microsoft had a way better E3 than Sony, because for me, Sony just showed games that are not coming out. That basically what they did is just, hey, look at the screen, watch this game. Oh, you're excited. We have no release date. Whereas
Yeah.
Microsoft, like, they have personality, they had charisma, and yeah, like, I can see how you don't really appreciate the Minecraft devs as much, because they were more like in awkward speech, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But I do think here's where that comes in handy, is that on the Xbox dashboard, a lot of kids that have Xbox were watching, right? So
Right.
I mean, like, that kind of speech actually relates to kids. Like, my daughter, she's 14. She stared at that and listened to everything they
Right, yeah.
said.
I will give you that. They definitely did a good job, like, watering down how basic skins and mods worked, and like that was like, and they did a good job with it. It's just, yeah, it's
I don't-
definitely hard. It's a hard comparison to make. I think that, and this isn't a perfect comparison, but I think comparing Sony to Microsoft's conference is kind of like Sony was Michael Bay, right? They had a lot of big action set pieces, a lot of games throughout, but then Microsoft kind of came in with, like I guess a good comparison would be like just any indie movie, right? Where it's like quiet, but they kind of have a meaning to it, and everything is very carefully orchestrated. Whereas Sony's was just like, let's have a lot of momentum and show games from the next 5 years. Yeah, yeah.
It's fair call. I gotta disagree because if I was to sit at both conferences, and this is not playing favorites at all, not that I like Microsoft more than Sony or Sony more than Microsoft, no favoritism. This is just from opinion. If I was to sit at the Microsoft conference, right, with that like darkness and that glow of green and the speech from Phil Spencer, it's very charismatic. So it's like drawing you in. Like, you know what I mean? Like, for me, it would draw me in. Like, I'd stay awake, wanted to see what's going to be presented next. Like, oh, I can't wait to see what's next. At Sony's thing, it wasn't even like that. Like, I mean, I would have just fallen asleep watching the screen. Period. I thought Transformers 2 was better than the Sony presentation.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, like, there were a lot of things at Sony's show that I mean, look, games are subjective, obviously, but like subjectively, Sony showed a lot of games, like the Detroit game. I know Assassin said it didn't do anything for him. That's mighty okay with me. But to me, like, that game piqued my interest. But again, it's what you're saying of, okay, that looks great, but I can't play that until I'm 24. You know what I mean? Like,
Right,
I guess that doesn't mean a lot to you guys because you're a little bit older than me. But it's just like, it's really hard to get jazzed for something when it's got that big question mark at the end of the trailer.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I know, like what if God of War 3 comes out a year and a half from now and I have a stroke like 6 months from now? I'm never going to be able to play it properly. You know what I mean? It's like, I want to play it now. You're showing it now. Give it to me now. Give it to me in 6 months. Let me play it in 6 months. Don't make me wait like a year, 2 years, 3 years. It's ridiculous, man.
Well, and I do think the biggest tease that Sony did was they're like, hey, we're remastering. Like, the thing they did with Crash Bandicoot was adorable, right? With the shadow, I think that's cute. But they should have shown a remastered level, like, because that's one of the things that people really like. If you're, like, we've seen a lot of bad remasters this gen where it's just like, oh, up-res shitty textures. But then we've seen games like Gears and Halo 2 Anniversary that are true remasters. And it would be great to see what kind of remaster we're getting out of Sony on that. They didn't, because as far as I remember, they didn't show anything besides like the cute little background thing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I thought that was really a shitty move for them. I mean, I understand that maybe they just kind of pulled that out of their ass recently, and it's
it was funny though, because they're like, we're gonna remaster it now. Watch this terrible Skylanders ad. Like,
yes, and they showed, and that was like, okay, this is Skylanders Imaginators. You can play as Crash Bandicoot, and and the inference was you were supposed to infer that this is how Crash Bandicoot is going to look and act in the remaster. So you were supposed to, like, parse that into an upcoming remaster that they have nothing done on, but they did have something done on Skylanders, and therefore they showed that. So that's why I think the Crash Bandicoot thing was kind of like come up with maybe a month ago, and they didn't have enough time.
Who's in charge of the remaster? Is it Activision?
Yeah, it's Activision.
Which is again, like, I don't know if you guys all saw it, but yesterday I shared this tweet, and it was like from the most recent trailer of the not Infinite Warfare, Call of Duty 4's remaster, and like there's like nice textures, but like rocks are floating and like hands are clipped through guns, and like, so I almost, like, again, Activision, like the Deadpool re-release and the prototype re-release, like, makes me very skeptical of Activision's capabilities to do a faithful remaster.
Yes.
We'll see.
Yeah, we will see. Assassin, any more negatives on the PlayStation conference you can sum up quickly? Go ahead.
Why the fuck did they bring Kojima up? He just started his company like
but a
year ago, and they showed the Walking Dead dude holding like a baby.
A baby. Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry to say it, but your game's not coming out for another 4 fucking years.
See, that's why people. That's what Sony did. That, if I were to sum up the two of them, they have the Xbox One and the PlayStation One, I think, had two very, very distinct audiences. I think the PlayStation One was definitely for the people who are riding the hype train, who are looking for like things that are coming way down the line, who are looking for entertainment. Like, why would you have an orchestra there unless you're just looking to entertain people? This conference started as a conference, or this expo rather, started as an expo for the press and for people in the industry to buy the games if they thought they were cool. Like, you saw the games, you know, you were a buyer for like GameStop or Funkoland or whatever was back then, before they let, you know, public people in. And then they would be like, oh, you know, that conference was cool and that game looked good. We'll order like 500,000 units of that and sell it in our stores. But now, like, the PlayStation conference was definitely for the stream. Definitely for people watching at home to get hyped about PS4. Whereas the Xbox One they had that, but it also was to show that the future Xbox is not going anywhere. That they're looking to, you know, make things more impressive and to come out with stronger hardware and to fight away naysayers, where PlayStation's the front runner, so they're looking to just, you know, throw a dog and pony show up on stage, and that's what they did, and they did it fairly successfully, I think.
Well, I do think it's funny the PlayStation CEO either said it yesterday or today that he's like, we had to take a risk when we contracted Kojima, and it's like, it's not a risk.
It's not risk. Yeah.
I mean, it's a financial risk because he will take 5 years to make his game. But I mean, like, look, like I don't know if this is unpopular with you guys, but I didn't think Metal Gear Solid 5's gameplay was pretty good, but the story was awful.
Yep.
Like, just totally nonsensical. Like, he makes pretentious, weird games, but is heralded by most critics and gamers. So, like, it's not a risk.
Here's the thing, too, with that. Like, I don't see what the big deal about Kojima is. Everybody's just living on this past nostalgia of Metal Gear. I mean, the last one launched with so many bugs that it was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, if we lived on nostalgia, Capcom would still be king. So would Data East.
Right, and Atari would be his company still.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't live on nostalgia and just love someone for nostalgia. You gotta love them for the last thing they put out, and the last thing he put out was, I hate to say it, man, it was a piece of buggy crap, and I was disappointed because I dropped the 60 on it for a pre-order.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, Assassin, so are you through with everything you hate, or do you got some more? So I've got a question for you when you're done.
Well, VR, I mean, I could go on, but the one thing that really pissed me off, Rocksteady came out and said they're done with the Arkham games. Yeah. Done. And then they come out with a fucking VR game? Like, you're not done with Arkham. Yeah. That also is stupid. Like, what, we're going to spend so much dollars on a mission in Star Wars, which is free if you own the game, and 20 minutes on a Batman game that probably will be nothing?
Yeah. Yep. I'm sure Sony's paying them to make it. I mean, that's usually how this thing goes.
Of course, enough money will convince them to come back and do something else. And you know, I'm sure they just did the bare minimum with VR. I'm sure they had no interest in doing VR.
Well, like, remember last year when I was E3 just before Arkham Knight shipped, and they were like, hey, we're doing an exclusive mission. Like, last minute announced they're doing an exclusive mission on PlayStation. Everyone got nervous, and then it was like a 7-minute intro. Like, you can literally watch it on YouTube. It's a 7-minute intro level that's exclusive to PlayStation. Like, so Sony and Rocksteady have this relationship of making, like, hey, pay us and we'll make this piddly little mission for you.
Yes.
I mean, if we're gonna live on nostalgia and keep bringing stuff back just to push it out to make a buck, why not make MacGyver in VR or A-Team in VR? That'd be pretty cool, right?
A-Team, yep.
Nice. So Assassin, what is the most positive thing that you took from the Sony conference?
Yes, let's go there, because that was going to be the next thing for me.
Well, I have one more positive and one more negative. They kind of go with each other. Okay. Infinite Warfare, amazing. Okay.
Really?
Yeah. The thing that really pissed me off was that 30 days early access with Modern Warfare Remaster's campaign. Like, what the fuck are you thinking, Sony? I want to know how much money you gave Activision just to do some stuff.
I want to know. So my question is, so Modern Warfare Remaster is supposed to launch the same day as Infinite Warfare, correct?
Yep.
So my question is, does it come out 30 days prior to the release date, or is it when it launches on every single platform, we're all going to have half a game unless you buy it on PlayStation? Is that...
They didn't say. I'm guessing it comes out in October, but, I mean, if it does, I mean, I don't give a shit. I got Battlefield, I got Forza, I got Titanfall, like...
Right. Yeah,
I just don't
whatever.
want Activision and Sony to continue doing this 30 days
Well, and it
campaign. Like,
wasn't even just Sony. Like, honestly, I think that, and I don't know if this is popular opinion or not, I always thought the Call of Duty thing where 30 days, I don't care if it's on Xbox, I don't care if it's on PlayStation. I think the routine of 30 days exclusive access on a single platform is just frankly unfair to gamers. Like, I think that it's just inherently bad as a practice, right? We all pay the same price, and some platforms get less or have to wait a while. I don't think that's fair.
Money talks, bro.
Yep. No, I hated it when Xbox does. Xbox is currently doing it with the Division.
With
and
Division, right?
I think it's BS. I think
but
it's
do
unfair.
people play that game? I'm sorry.
No, I read a report last week, and they said on all 3 platforms, it's down 93% since launch. So
Woof.
yeah, so no one plays the Division.
The sad thing is they made their money on it.
Yep. Oh, they don't care. They don't care. They got Division 2 money now.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so most positive thing from the PlayStation 4 conference, Clowns or Bear Claw?
I stayed awake.
For Sony.
Nice. Yeah, Bear Claw for Sony.
Oh, God of War. It looks so good. The new camera angle. Yeah, it was a phenomenal start to the show. Phenomenal.
The best thing I saw from Sony, from Sony's booth, because we'll talk about Ubisoft on the next part of the E3 coverage show. But the best thing that I saw at Sony's proper booth, was God of War. It was absolutely stunning, and I'm very much looking forward to it. And I will be pre-ordering it. Not quite this far in advance, but when it gets to that point.
Wait
Now,
4 years.
did they give a vague release date for that?
No, in development,
They
just
did
like
not.
everything they showed.
Yep. Okay.
One thing that I did think was cool, that we didn't really mention, that we don't have a lot of time to mention, but I thought I'd throw in there from the VR thing, was the new PlayStation VR aim controller, which looks like something they already did that I don't remember the name of. The thing that you throw the
move sticks in.
The move stick, thank you. I couldn't remember the name of that. You put the move stick in, and you used it for
shooters, right?
Yeah, for one shooter game, and from what I heard from people, it was actually surprisingly accurate. So, I mean, that's a pretty positive thing, because if you remember the last, kind of games that did this, that touted, extreme accuracy, were Wii games, right? Because they had that Wii gun there that worked with, the Legend of Zelda.
Yeah,
it worked
Zapper or whatever.
Yeah, the Zapper thing. It worked with... what else? Call of Duty, right? They said that you would be able to use it with Call of Duty, like Black Ops on the Wii, and you would, it would feel like you're actually holding a gun. But those games, it didn't really work too well. This thing, I'm hearing, is actually working really well. So that could be a nice little touch on VR. That is a unique experience that, if they make long games, I mean, could be worth it. I don't know. I think it looked pretty cool. But yeah, we don't have a lot of time to talk about that since we only have 10 more minutes.
Yep.
And I do want to get to what you guys thought was the most positive thing, or what you really liked, if you have a couple positive things out of the Xbox conference.
From a positive standpoint, I think Sea of Thieves made a strong debut. I think that showing people who won the contest is a bit of a double-edged sword, right? It can show you the possibilities, but also loud, annoying teenagers are always loud, annoying teenagers. So, but I thought that was really strong. I think Sea of Thieves has become a game that I was kind of excited for, to a game I am the most excited for from the Xbox lineup, I'd say.
And I think a lot of people agree with you. I think the lines, from my personal experience, the lines were ridiculously long and active. The demo was 15, 20 minutes. It was a good way to get you in, let you travel the seas in proper amount of time. Because if it was only a 5-minute demo, I mean, you wouldn't have enough time to get out in the sea and battle ships and stuff with the cannons and repair the leaks in your pirate ship and stuff. So I agree with you. I think that was probably the most positive thing, very closely followed by Recore, which I had almost no interest with when they showed it initially, because they didn't show what kind of game it was. And now that they show what kind of game it was, and it was playable on the floor, and I did get to play it twice, I'm in love.
It's a platformer, right? That's kind of what I got from it. Like Legend of Zelda meets
Mega Man meets...
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it is.
Metroid.
Meets Metroid, yes.
Now it's got the $40 price point. Can you detect why? Is it a length thing?
So I asked a couple of developers, and we're going to have a developer from them on our show. So look out for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, look out for that in the future. So we will be talking to them exclusively about Recore probably for like an hour on a future show. And he did tell me that it's pretty much all about value because it is only a single player experience, and you know, they feel like that it's a brand new franchise and it's probably more approachable to people who wouldn't dabble with it just because it's $40, and it has nothing to do with its length. They're gunning for like 15 hours of gameplay in it.
Okay, good. See, my concern when I hear $40, I'm like, oh, you're about to sell me a 4-hour game, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
So they're
good.
gunning for 15 hours of gameplay on it. So
Right. Yeah, I mean, and that's almost like an accidental middle finger to Quantum Break, right?
I was thinking the same thing, Bear Call. Sorry to cut you off, but that's where I was headed. I was gonna say if Quantum Break would have did the same thing, they would have sold more. That was their biggest mistake.
Agree. If they came out at 40, I think they could have doubled sales for sure.
Also,
because some of these new IPs, they have like almost inherently niche markets. Like when Mario Party came out, that was a new IP, right? The first Mario Party, but it had Mario going for it, and it had going for it that it was a party game that everybody could get into. Quantum Break is like very niche, and Recore is also extremely niche, just from the science fiction aspect of both of them.
I don't want to derail conversation. I just want to have a quick question for you, and I think other people might be interested.
Yeah.
Did anybody talk about Crackdown and why it's just like not being talked about now?
Yes. People were very vocal about why Crackdown wasn't even shown.
I assumed not. It's just not developing very well.
The answer that was kind of prevailing, even from Microsoft people, was that it's becoming a slow development process, and they're going to show more at Gamescom and wanted to wait. Kind of like the thing we were talking about before, where Gamescom is the show you show stuff in the future, and E3 is kind of the show where Microsoft shows stuff coming right around the corner. So, so I think it's gonna show at Gamescom, but people were disappointed. But
it's supposed to launch this summer, or at least the multiplayer.
The multiplayer beta, exactly. Yeah. And I think the multiplayer is actually maybe the thing that's kind of holding it up, from what I hear. So,
interesting.
So, Assassin, what do you think was your most positive part of the Xbox conference?
Two things: Forza Horizon 3, because I love the Forza games and whatnot, and Scorpio.
Scorpio, yes, a lot of talk about Scorpio. About Scorpio. I'm on record of I'm gonna get an Xbox One S after seeing it in the flesh, after playing on the new controller, after seeing how awesome Gears 4 looked up-res on 4K TV with the HDR mode enabled. It looked really, really good.
At the expense of embarrassing myself, and again, hopefully this answers questions for people in the chat, but at the expense of embarrassing myself, if I've got a 1080p TV, it doesn't have HDR features, obviously it's not 4K.
It depends.
No reason to upgrade, right, to the S, right?
No, it depends on your TV set whether or not HDR is fully supported. Right. The contrast ratio will tell you. If you've got a TV that has like 1,000:1 contrast ratio, then unless you want to save space, there really is no reason.
Right. See, and that's my thing, is that it looks like a gorgeous console, but if Microsoft is going to charge me $600+ next year for a new console, can I really justify it if I also need to buy a 4K TV in the same year?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
That's the biggest danger with announcing two consoles in one show, is that you kind of make people wonder, wow, this console's really sexy, but is it going to be obsolete in a year if I buy a 4K TV?
Yes, and that is the problem, because and if there's one negative that I took out of the Xbox One thing, the Xbox One S thing in particular, it would be the fact that I think it's priced incorrectly. I think $299 for the base model is too much, and the fact that the $299 base model for 500 gigabytes is not releasing until December, according to a lot of reports.
So that hasn't. I've heard the same thing about December, and if it is December, shame on them. That's BS.
That's what Amazon's confirmed.
Amazon has confirmed it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's absolute BS because I don't, from a logistics perspective, I can't understand why it would take longer to get 2 terabyte in a piece than 500. That seems weird, right? Like
Right.
I don't from a memory perspective, it should be relatively easy to just put in different hard drives. That's bizarre.
Right.
I mean, I hate to say it. I think they want to sell the more
More
expensive ones
expensive.
sooner.
Yeah,
Course, yeah.
and I wouldn't hold them against it if they didn't BS the 299 price point. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Well,
So,
I just feel so bad for these kids who are going to get like the Xbox One S, this Christmas or next summer, and then you know what I mean? Because
and
like
then
there are so
Scorpio,
many,
yeah.
there are so many kids who are out of the loop and whose parents are out of the loop, and they're gonna feel it. Yeah.
Right.
Oh well, that's how it goes.
Well,
And that's if the Scorpio don't get pushed back, though.
yes, yeah,
See,
that's a good point.
I totally think with Neo, and I don't want to get into a huge tangent because I know we're tight on time. I think with them holding back on releasing the Neo, I think they're actually going to skip launching this year. I think they're going to launch next year. And now that Microsoft has announced their specs, I totally think Sony's going to one up them.
They're gonna have to
I think Sony's gonna.
because
I don't think they will.
You don't think they will?
I feel like they won't.
It takes years to make a console. Well, to figure out the console, the specs, make it.
It
just
doesn't.
seems-
It doesn't really take years, Assassin. It just
Well,
depends how
like,
much effort
not
they put
like
into it.
1 year, just like.
It's
I-
money into the R&D.
I think just because of how Sony has treated Microsoft this year, and it's fine, they're companies, they should fight with each other. But I think just based on how Sony has treated Microsoft in the past year, I would say that they're probably going to they're going to fight their hardest to one up them.
Right.
Which again, when companies compete, it's more more value for gamers. So whatever, I guess.
And the thing about the Neo that kind of has them a little dead in the water is they tried to let the developers know what the Neo hardware was. That's how everyone found out about the Neo. That's how everyone found out about the specs, is because developers found out about the specs. Whereas with this thing, developers didn't necessarily know about the specs, and now that the specs for the Neo are already out there and already confirmed that developers had like quote unquote experimental hardware, dev hardware to start making Neo games. Now what are they going to do? Their devs already in process making stuff for a 4.14 teraflop GPU hardware, and now what? They're going to make it 7 just because the Xbox had 6? Like the developers would be even more pissed than they already are.
Yeah. Well, I just think that like before E3, everyone was like, oh, they're going to launch this fall, right? In line with the PSVR, and now it seems like they're not aiming for. I mean, maybe they're still aiming for this fall, but it just seems like it seems risky to skip announcing your console that's coming out in the fall.
Well, in all fairness, Bear Claw, like Weckless is saying in the chat, Neo is in production. They've already mass produced it.
Is there confirmation of that? I haven't heard that.
I haven't heard that either, but
Yeah,
I mean, it makes sense though, because they've already released the specs to devs. Like,
right, but I mean the NX. Nobody's seen what the NX is, and it's not in production yet. But we know what the hardware is. Yeah.
Well, you got to remember this too. Nintendo's not looking too hot financially, and they're looking to sell off their American assets, like their pool in the Seattle Mariners. So I mean, like, they're trying to sell off their assets.
They're a wealthy company, but you're all right. They're bleeding pretty bad, but they're a really wealthy company. Like, somebody did the math, and like they could be in the red as much as they were in 2012 when they sold the Wii U and stay in business for 50 years because they've amassed such heinous amounts of wealth in the past.
Mhm.
They're a really old company, so they're just really wealthy. But yeah, you are right. I mean, like, they can't afford to make bad things forever.
I believe it was Giant Bomb. They did the history of Nintendo, and Nintendo formed allegedly, according to legend, from the Yakuza.
Well, right,
No
they used to
way.
didn't they used to be like a gum and like toy company? They used to, like,
a card company back in the 1800s, late 1800s.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah. Anyway, tangent over.
Tangent done. Clowns, what was your biggest positive from Xbox E3?
I want to say I liked a lot of the indies that Microsoft is showing and promoting. Like, I love Cuphead. I think it looks phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very excited for We Happy Few.
Yes.
And I'm excited for We Happy Few not only because it's coming out on Xbox, but we applied for a press code like a year and a half, 2 years ago, and now it's finally coming out. So I'm excited.
Yes, and Compulsion's always been very good to us, and Contrast was excellent, very underrated. Similar to like Stick It to the Man in that regard, in terms of being underrated. And I think Compulsion now has a little bit of a reputation that, you know, they do make very high quality story games. So, and I played the demo at E3, and I mean, it was good. It was good. I enjoyed it. It wasn't too in depth, but I mean, you know, they're not going to show off too much of the story at this point.
My only criticism of We Happy Few that I could tell from the demo, and I'm a little worried about because it's launching in preview, is performance. Because everything in preview has been good, right? Like Arc is incredible, but Arc is marred by. I mean, it's better now, but was marred by pretty heinous frame rate drop.
Right.
And I really hope we can get a solid performance out of We Happy Few by July.
Yeah. Well, I also think that the fact that they showed it at PAX and they showed it at E3 and have made improvements between those two, I think they're so dedicated on making the performance solid that I think that even though it's going to be a game preview game, I think it is going to actually be, you know, solid like you hope. I think it's different than Ark in that regard.
I think with Ark, I think the biggest problem was it was the engine, and they try to put too much into the game
Well,
because it was
it's
so big.
Unreal Engine 4, right?
Is it Unreal?
I know it's Unreal. I think it's Unreal 4.
Okay.
I think that's yeah. I don't know.
Gotcha. Yeah. I was gonna talk about Nintendo, but we're kind of like out of time. We're gonna have
they
to
showed Zelda. It looked good.
Zelda, yes. The lines were ridiculous. The lines on Zelda. We're not gonna get into it because we're out of time, but we'll get into it in the next episode, the next part of the E3 coverage. But I will say on this episode that the lines were absolutely insane. People bum rushed it. People were like losing shoes, keys, salads, sandwiches. Some woman like lost her hair. Like it was nuts, and the lines were cut off like 5 minutes into the show. They had already amassed that many people that they were cutting the lines off before like 10:30 a.m. So, yeah.
And Zelda hasn't grown up. Just wanted to.
And Zelda has not grown up. Yes, yes. So we'll talk about that next show. We are out of time right now. Bearclaw, thank you very much for coming on.
Of course, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. So nice.
Perpetuating the console wars, but not really, because I think there were positives on both ends. Yeah, Sony.
I agree.
So yeah, Sony is showing a lot of stuff way in the future, and I don't like that. But at the same time, God of War was sexy, and some of these games do look like they could be good. But for me personally, I think for a lot of people on this panel, like we want to see stuff that we're gonna get fairly soon. We don't want to be like left in limbo because PlayStation's done that before. Look at Last Guardian, 10 friggin' years later. So, you know, maybe Detroit might not come until 10 years from now or something like that. We want to be assured as gamers, and I think that's why we didn't necessarily like the PlayStation conference as much.
I mean, God of War might launch with PS5. You know?
Yeah, right, exactly.
I bet it'll come out next holiday.
Right,
17.
right.
Yeah.
Hopefully it does, because it looks sexy. All right, so follow us on Twitter to get updates on when the shows are going to be, more accurate updates, especially for this next part 2 of the E3 coverage, because we may do that before next Thursday. We don't know yet, but we will let you guys know. Twitter.com/4GwQPodcast. So check that out. Also check out our Facebook, Facebook.com/4GuysWithQuarters. If you guys are watching live, thank you very much. If you're not, also thank you. Please give us a like and subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/4GuysWithQuarters. And comment in the and make a comment in the comment section. Let us know like if you agree with us, disagree. We'll be checking back there to respond to comments and stuff, because we definitely want to hear from you guys. Also on Twitch, follow us there. If you guys are watching on Twitch, thank you. If you guys are already following, thank you. If you're not, please do click that heart and give us a follow on there. Twitch.tv/4guyswithquarters. And our website is 4guyswithquarters.com. We'll have new stuff up there very shortly. And you can catch all our back episodes on there. And for each of us individually, you can follow us on our channels that are have been cycling below our faces here. Twitter, Facebook, not Facebook, wow, I'm lying. Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Bearclaw's website, bearclawgaming.com. Go check that out. It's really cool. So, yeah, we'll see you guys later. Peace.
See ya.